Hey, sweetheart, welcome to Terror Tuesday, the show in which I do my makeup, inspired by a horror movie while telling you about it. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Sin. I'm your local, well-established idiot. And I really only like horror movies. I like a couple of comedies, not a lot. Now, today we are covering 2014 Starry Eyes, which was co-directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. I believe I'm saying their names correctly. Which follows a hopeful young starlet who uncovers the ominous origins of the Hollywood elite by joining a deadly agreement for fame and fortune. Now, this has the smallest makeup crew of anything I've covered since Velvet Vampire, and it doesn't actually have a head of makeup listed on IMDb. However, they do have the key makeup artist, which is Rachel Kuhlman. Kuhlman? We're gonna go with Kuhlman. That sounds the most correct. I will put the rest of our makeup artist on stream for you now. And while I normally do my makeup inspired by a look in the movie, normally like a special effects one, or it's like, you can tell I'm taking heavy resemblance from it, I don't feel great. And also, this movie doesn't really do anything until about 53 minutes in of its 95-minute runtime. I don't think I'd have enough time to properly recreate a single thing from this movie. So instead, if you don't mind, we are going to combine her end of the movie look, where she's all like vampiric Hollywood, and this cover from Shudder, which is the only reason I ever even watched the movie. It wasn't bad. It's very boring for the first 50 minutes, I won't lie to you. But there's something about the cover, the stars are upside down, I'm pretty sure. I'm doing them upside down. Something about it it's so fascinating. I was kind of just scrolling through and I kept scrolling back up to it. So that's what we ended up with. I am going to send you to the trigger warnings because there are some absolutely major ones. One of my biggest fears as part of this movie, there's some scenes that I definitely skipped through my second watch through because we know how I feel about SA and horror. So we'll put those on the screen and we'll be right back for you. So this movie starts with a young woman, her name is Sarah, although we don't know that yet, grabbing at her body in the mirror. It goes to a title card and then she starts getting ready for something. Turns out to be her job, which is at a place called Big Taters. She's checking her phone. Apparently something to do with an audition. And her boss is really getting on her ass about it. I mean, understandably so. If you look at their absolutely god-awful, atrocious, listen, I've had some bad uniforms, right? I worked at a place where their focus was looking like an old country store. That doesn't really give you a super hot vibe. However, Big Taters is supposed to be like a potato-themed Hooters. These outfits are atrocious. This is one of those movies where I'm gonna be kind of just giggling with you. Have fun. But she goes outside. We see her check her phone. And then it cuts to her in a audition. She apparently got a phone call about a call-in for one. However, she doesn't really do a great job. She keeps checking her script. They even remind her, like, you know the lines. Just do it. You know it. She ends up going into the bathroom and having a breakdown that we will see is really average for her. She starts ripping her hair out. There's this awful sound design connected to it that's just, it's so loud and it's like Velcro-esque. It's really bad. Like, I really, really dislike the sound design on the hair ripping. Which, I mean, that's the point, of course, but And then she gets home. She is drinking a cup of tea while scrolling through some sort of website that lists movies looking for auditions. She applies for a part in a movie called Silver Screen, which when they discuss it later, the silver screen sounds a lot like it is just starry eyes, and we're getting kind of meta with it, which I really enjoy. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. It's one of the only parts of meeting the producer in this movie I enjoy. She ends up going to a house party full of post-undergrad creatives. There's a guy who is reading some kind of bad slam poetry. Something about being Edgar Allan Poe. It's very strange. It's not good poetry by any means. I did not enjoy it. However, it is poetry. And we should always support creatives. Whatever. At this party, this is really just so we can get to meet all her friends. We have her roommate, Tracy, who is played by, I can't think of her name right now, but she's in, like, everything. Like, she's one of those character actors that, like, once you know her, you know her. You can see my eyebrows. Oh, my stubble. And I didn't color correct. That's rude of me. She played a mom in The Pit recently. She played Madison in Orange is the New Black, if I'm remembering right. Like, if this is who I think it is, she's everywhere. And, like, she's good. I like her. She's really likable in this movie. But we meet her friend Tracy, her friend Danny, who is a wannabe up-and-coming sort of director. I'm not really sure of all of the friends' names. I know the blonde is, I think, Abigail. There's a brunette named Erin, who is also an actor. Erin is awful, and I cannot stand her. There's some other guy, I kind of just call him Bad Breath Guy for this whole movie, because later in this scene, she ends up in the kitchen with him. He's real close to her face. He's clearly not got great breath. She's, like, pulling away, like, covering her face up. So we just call him Bad Breath Guy around here, because he's in the whole movie. I don't think they ever say his name. But he's, like, a cameraman. He is, I don't know, aspiring filmography. They're all aspiring something in the creative sort of film and music world. Like, that's the point of them. They all want to be in film. She gets invited to this thing called Preformation, where the other girls are basically kind of chastising her and being like, oh, we can finally see, like, your acting skills. Since you're, so destined for stardom. You're such a good actor. We get this part about how Erin apparently stole a part out from under Sarah. And then later she said she didn't even know Sarah went for the part, that she just must have been the better one for it. I really hate Erin. You're supposed to. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think at any given point they were like, oh, we need to make sure the audience likes Erin. But, like, Erin's extremely unlikable in all regards. She kind of sucks. At least in the regards of you wanting to like the main character. Anyway, she goes to the bathroom after finally sneaking away from Bad Breath Guy, and then just kind of sneaks out the party in general. She ends up, while walking out, Danny runs up to her. He's trying to talk to her about putting her in his movie. This is a running thing that he really wants Sarah to be a part of the short film he's doing. How he wants to get famous the old way, You do your little short films and your commercials and your music video spots, and you're an extra and a PA and this, that, and the sort, and you work your way up. That's Danny's focus, okay? Danny realizes that he can have a normal life and aspire for art, and that's what he's doing. So he's trying to get her into his movie, but she hears back that she got the audition for the Silver Scream, which was the movie she applied for. It is a lead role she is auditioning for. Erin is also there. She finds out the title of the movie, and she's like, oh, I hope that's a working title. Just trying to, like, tear it down, because that seems to be her running thing with Sarah. She tells Sarah they're friends later, but, like, you can tell without a shadow of a doubt that Sarah and Aaron are frenemies at best. Truly, I think Sarah's only friends are Tracy and Danny. I think everyone else just kind of tolerates her, which definitely leads to the main conflict of this movie. However, we see we see Sarah go home. She is having a nightmare about the audition where things go bad and blood begins to pour from her scalp down her face. And from her point of view, it seems like no one else can see it. We cut to the next day in which Sarah is sitting in a hallway at the audition. A girl comes through just absolutely sobbing her heart out. She's credited, but just as crying girl. And then it's Sarah's turn to go into the audition. She makes it in there, and there's a guy in there he's just so, I don't know what he is, but he's so, I can't tell if he's boring, I can't tell if he's rude, I don't know if he's annoying, if he's just blank, I don't know. But I know I don't like him, and I don't think I was ever meant to, so I don't really care that I don't like him. I just would like you to know that I find him really strange. Sarah does her audition. It's not that bad, but they tell her they've seen everything they need to see. She asks if they have any notes for her, and they tell her she can go. So Sarah, once again, just like she did with her last audition, goes into the bathroom and starts punishing herself. She's screaming. She's having another, breakdown. She's ripping out her hair again. And then when she comes out of the bathroom, or out of the stall, the woman who was sitting pretty silently in her interview is there. However, I forgot to mention, and I'm gonna mention it here, there is this really well done POV shot in her hair where you're staring at her knees, her hair is coming down in front of the camera like you're her eyes for a minute. I love a good POV shot. I think that one was really, really well done. I was a really big fan of it. It makes that Velcro Lippie situation so much worse. It's so good. But when she comes out the bathroom, the very silent woman from her audition is there. She brings her in, back into the audition room. She says they did not see everything they needed to see from her. And they ask her to throw another one of her fits. And Sarah said she's never done it in front of someone before. They go to excuse her. So she starts having a fit in the most uncomfortable way. And it's supposed to be uncomfortable and unsettling, right? That's the point. That's the point. However, it is so her body's contorting, she's writhing in pain. She looks nearly possessed. It's very unnerving, very uncomfortable. It's something that definitely sticks with you when the movie's over. I'm a really big fan of this scene. I think it works really well. She goes home after they tell her they'll be in touch, which is a different response than what she got last time, so it's probably a good one. However, when she gets home and Tracy asks how it went, she tells Tracy that she thinks they were just making fun of her. Which, I mean, I also got that impression the first time. You can't blame her for that impression. I'm just, clean this up because I want myself to look dead, but not that dead. I want to, shear out the gray. Ghoulish. And then we see that the rest of the group is going to be there. She tells Sarah that she should just not worry about the interview. Come hang out for a little while. All their friends are coming over, but Sarah has no interest in it. She'd rather be alone. So Tracy leaves her be. We then see her staring at her wall of movie stars. She has this really detailed wall that is just a bunch of black and white movie stars printed out and layered on top of each other. Which is like, it's really cool. It's a beautiful set piece, but it's kind of like a little on the nose. However, we cut from the wall to the birthday song at Big Taters. She gets another call from the strange blank question mark, rude question mark, something's up with him question mark guy, who tells her not to interrupt him. That was a big thing for him, but that they want to see her again. They think she has what it needs. She has another interview, but this interview will be different. And so she ends up getting in trouble with her boss again, who tells her that she needs to focus on her priorities, meaning she needs to worry more about work than acting. And she says, "You're right, I do need to focus on my priorities," and quits her job on the spot. Like, just right then and there, to go to another audition where they ask her to fully disrobe for them. She is not into it at first. She's like, "Hey, is this like needed for the role? It didn't say anything about nudity." And they tell her it's not needed for the role, but she needs to be able to let her inhibitions go. And how can she do that clothed? And she says, I thought I kind of did that with my last interview. Or not interview, my last audition. And they say, "You did. That's the only reason you got a call back." So Sarah ends up disrobing. They have a camera on her. She's almost fully in the dark. And then we get this shot through flashes where she slowly starts to let go. She lets her inhibition out. And then eventually, she's even, like, laughing. There's, like, an interesting sort of, like, moaning to it. Which I don't know how I feel about that part, but I do find it very intriguing, the way she, like, carries herself. Her interest in what she's doing is very, like, fascinating. I do find Sarah to be a very interesting character. As she's doing this, you can see flashes of her looking sort of vampiric, which I'd missed my first watch through. I completely missed the vampiric part of it at all. I thought this was like a demon summoning body horror, and I was really confused by the ending. So I'm glad I had to watch this again to do this. The woman tells her that she did exactly what they were looking for. As she gets closer to the woman, you can see this, like, it's a pentagram, but it's got a line going through it. It's very strange. It's a very strange little shape. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't know if they just took a pentagram and kind of changed it, if that's a part of a religion I'm not sure of. If you do know that, please let me know. I'd love to know. But she ends up leaving. When she gets home, her frenemy group, whatever you want to call them, are at the pool of her apartment building. Aaron and Abigail are jumping around, making the camera guy, who is seeing Abigail in some regard, we find out later, take pictures of them. Piece of shit. Aaron asks about it. She says she looks at the roll and it seemed a little silly. Sarah points out that it's Strayus Pictures, which is a huge production company in their universe, so it's legit. When Danny finds out that it's Strayus Pictures, he's like, "Oh, like, you know, if you could put in a good word for me, like, get me some PA work on there, that'd be great." And Aaron immediately is like, "Well, what about our movie? You know, like," and then she's like, "It's kind of, like, overzealous to think you'll get a leading lady role that fast, is it not?" Like, you know, just trying to find anything to grapple with to, like, shut her down, make her feel bad. She ends up going upstairs. Tracy asks her how the audition went. She says it went well, and Tracy's like, "Oh, good, you didn't think they were making fun of you this time." She's like, "I don't think they were ever making fun of me." Tracy tells her to get in a swimsuit and come join them, but as she says that, Abigail ends up falling just face first into the concrete and breaking her nose, which makes Sarah laugh a little, and that really bothers Tracy, like, understandably so. From what we've seen of Sarah, it seems a little out of character for her to find one of her friends getting hurt funny. So you can't blame Tracy for, like, being a little weirded out by it. But she runs downstairs to help Abigail and Aaron, who is also trying to help Abigail. And then we cut to Sarah having a nightmare about the audition. It's very strange. It's really just her, like, being able to see it from a third-person point of view from what it looks like, where she sees the sort of, like, vampiric things that were happening to her. I don't know. This nightmare wasn't as easy to understand as the first one. And I mean, nightmares often aren't, so that works. But she gets up in her robe to go, like, stand outside and sort of, like, calm herself down. She ends up getting a call from the weird quiet woman that she has an option to meet the producer. The producer wants to meet her. Obviously, something like that's a huge deal. So Sarah ends up getting ready. She gets in this really cute little red dress. She looks adorable. Danny tells her she looks nice. Aaron makes a snarky comment about how she looks a little overdressed, to which Sarah says that dressing like that is nothing. Yeah, it is. Good girl. Like, good for you. I like Sarah. I really hate that she's gonna be evil because I find her really likable. But Sarah goes in for her audition. The producer is strangely obsessed with how pretty she is, how she's even prettier than her picture, how she's prettier than her audition tape. This is when Sarah finds out for the first time that her audition even was taped. She had no clue that was happening. And he is telling her about how very few girls ever make it into his office. How this is this huge opportunity for her, that it's something that most girls don't get to do, how he can make her a star. And as he's talking to her, he ends up slipping his hand under her skirt. And it's very clear that for him to make her a star, she has to sleep with him. Because he's disgusting. However, I would like to point out that while he's talking about the movie and he's telling her about the silver screen, he's talking about how it is a play on Hollywood and how Hollywood has become the cesspool of nothingness, how everyone will do anything for fame, but it's so fake in it. It feels a lot like it is a commentary on the movie itself. I was really into it, actually. I really hate that this guy is a pervert because the rest of the scene is really intriguing. But she storms out of there. She ends up storming home. All her friends are still on the couch when she gets home. She runs to her room crying. Danny tells Tracy to go check on her, so Tracy does. She ends up telling Tracy about what the producer from Estrellas did to her, which we'll find out later. Tracy tells the rest of the group, but she tells her, like, none of us do that. You're better than that. You can't let that tear you down. She finds out Sarah quit her job, which as her roommate, she's not very happy about, understandably so. But she kind of calms Sarah down. She invites her to come stay with them. She decides just to stay there. They're hearing the man's words play in her head about how he could make her a star. She just has to be willing to do what it takes, and this, that, and the third. This guy sucks. He sucks. And then we see her go explain how she's good for a job, and she overreacted, and you have a moment where you're a little worried that she might be talking about Estrellas, but she's talking to the Big Taters guy, who tells her that he understands that what they do at Big Taters is silly to her. He's had plenty of actresses walk through his doors. But the thing is that Big Taters is him, and he needs her to be able to respect him. Which I don't think he's a bad guy for. That's fair. He has something he's proud of, and why would we boo him for that, you know? Sarah ends up getting her job back. She has a little minute where she's crying outside of her Big Taters, and her food is just sitting dead on the ground. Like, girl, pick that up. Why is your food just sitting on LA concrete? Listen, I've never been to LA, but I have been to downtown parts of my town and surrounding South Carolina towns. You don't want to eat stuff that's been sitting on that sidewalk. You should know that. You live there. Get your food off the sidewalk. She goes home to hang out with the group. It's literally like everyone from that party. And Erin finally comes up. She is a little racist. Definitely a little racist to Indigenous people. I don't know if that was the director's purpose or what the thought process there was, but it's racist. Sarah leaves. She goes and sits on these random like car seats by a van. Danny comes over and tells her that she is sitting on his property. In that we find out that Danny lives in his van. It no longer runs, but it used to when he had the epiphany to live in his van. Danny is talking to her about the role, tells her that Tracy told them what happened and that he would love to have her in his movie. And Sarah asks if she could get the part of Simone, which is Erin's part in the movie. She wants to take the leading lady from her. I have to assume this has to do with the way that Erin is constantly, like, trying to one-up her, the way Erin, like, talks about getting this commercial gig, like, she stole it from Sarah. Like, man, I'd steal her role, too. I can't even boo her for that. But Sarah, you can tell Danny's not really into it. However, he gives her some sort of pill. She asks what it is, and he doesn't tell her, but he says that they can do what they love and do what they have to do to survive. It's not mutually exclusive. Which comes from Sarah, like, making comment about how Big Taters feels like selling her soul anyway, so what's the point of selling her soul to Big Taters or Estrella, so she's selling her soul either way. It's this whole, like, thing with her. She's very dramatic, but I mean, I guess she's an actress, so, like, it makes sense. She takes the pill with Danny, even though, again, she doesn't know what it is. We get a fun, like, hazy... There we go. Fun, hazy swimming pool scene, and then we cut to her upstairs. She is on her phone, and she calls Estrellas. She says that she made a mistake. She wants to meet the producer again. They give her an address and tell her to be there in an hour. And she does. She gets in a really cute black dress. We see her head towards a subway. I didn't know LA had subways. Does LA have subways? I know a lot of big cities do, but everyone always talks about how the urban planning in LA is awful, so I didn't really expect them to have those. We see her almost chicken out, but then turn around and decide, no, screw it, I'm getting on the train. And then Sarah meets with the Estrellas producer, and she kind of falls over. It's unclear to me if she's just that high, or if she falls over on purpose to seem kind of, like, quirky. But I think it's supposed to show us how genuinely messed up she is and how much she, like, doesn't fully understand what she's agreeing to right now. And we get a second followed through sexual assault scene. When he puts his hand on her head, we see that he has the same symbol that the woman had on her necklace, like, embedded into his skin. Almost like it almost looks like a vein that's popping out. It's very nasty. We see a cult come out while this is happening, and he tells her about how they can make her a star. She just has to be willing to see with their eyes. She has to be willing to get new eyes. And this turns out to be a statement that's a lot more literal than you'd think. It's very nasty, actually. Then next thing we know, she's at home. She's still in her little black dress that she met the producer in. And she is very visibly unwell. Like, this is when our body horror element of this movie starts. She can't stand up straight. She's gripping at her stomach. She somehow manages to get herself up for work. And then literally, like, is standing over a plate drooling. She's so sick. Her boss sees her and tries to send her home, but she's like, no, I've got it. They get in a fight over a plate, and she ends up literally slapping her boss. He tells her to go home, never come back, which, you know, he's real for. Completely understandable response to getting slapped in the face over a thing of potato, or what are they, tater tots? I don't know. Completely valid response from him. She then cuts to her with her friend group. She's very clearly unwell. You can tell, at minimum, Danny is really worried about her. That sort of tends to be a thing. Again, I think the only ones who were genuinely her friends were Tracy and Danny. The camera guy starts taking pictures of her getting sick, makes a joke. This is gonna really date this movie. Makes a joke that he's gonna make a Tumblr dedicated to her throwing up. Here's the thing. Y'all know that I still use Tumblr religiously. But for it to be brought up in a movie? Huh. Ho ho ho. Oh, this is an aged one. Tracy takes his phone, tells him that he's not gonna do that. And Sarah ends up shoving Tracy instead of the guy, which really catches Tracy off guard, understandably. Because, you know, she's on Sarah's side here, seemingly, and yet Sarah's hitting her. It cuts to her. She, stumbles down a weird clearing situation. Danny is like, hey, you should go after her. Tracy's like, I don't think she wants me to do that. She just, shoved me. It's this whole, back and forth for a minute. And then Tracy ends up at Estrellas. Not Tracy. Sarah ends up at Estrellas. She's, calling up to the building. She's like, hey, I don't feel well. I really, really don't feel good. Something's wrong. There's a man there. I have to assume he's supposed to be a homeless man, but I'm not completely sure if he's meant to be unhoused or if he's just a dude that's there. In all honesty, he could have been put there to watch Sarah. I'm not sure. At certain points, this movie got so blurry for me, I couldn't fully tell what was happening, which made it more fun, I think. But she ends up attacking him, screaming at him not to touch her. How dare he think he can touch her, even though he doesn't touch her at all. Puts him on the ground and then storms off. She's wandering through LA for a little bit. It's very hazy. It's kind of unclear whether she's drugged out or if she's that sick. And the answer is that she's that sick, but it feels very drug induced. It's very hazy and almost kind of beautiful. And I mean, it's supposed to be the sense of her being reborn, right? So it's fitting, but there's something just so, I like that it's hard for us to follow because it's hard for Sarah to follow what's happening to her. That being said, we then get a cut to her at home again. She's laying in bed. Her body is jerking like she's writhing in pain. It's honestly really hard to watch. I think the actress absolutely sold Sarah. She makes her way out of bed. She goes to throw up, but she can't actually get anything up. Goes to throw up again. She can't get anything up really, but she does realize that her hair is falling out and not in the little patches that she was ripping out at the beginning of the movie, but in these huge chunks. Like her hair has fully started to fall out. Tracy tells her she needs to get in the bathroom to get ready for work. She's been in there for hours, and Sarah, like, storms to the kitchen to try and eat. Like, she's trying to eat yogurt by the handful. Like, it's just on her fingers. But she immediately throws it right back up. Her stomach can't even handle foods that are considered very mild. She has no clue what's happening to her. But Tracy comes back in the room. She tries to check on her, and Sarah's like, she's talking about a smell, and she's like, what is that smell? I think it's you. And Tracy's like, hey, like, I hate to be that guy, but that smell is absolutely you. Like, it's you, Sarah. Sarah immediately asks Tracy if she's on her period. And I missed the vampire part of this originally. So, like, Tracy and I are both equally thrown off by that. Sarah then blows up at Tracy. I don't know. I think the idea of turning into a vampire via ingesting sperm is so fun. Like, I can't prove that Twilight caused this movie, but there's definitely overlays there, you know? Sarah blows up at Tracy. She says that those aren't her friends, they're Tracy's friends. Tracy never should have told them how her interview went. Or not interview, her audition went, which is true. That was not Tracy's place to tell them. Tracy even agrees she's right, she shouldn't have told that to them. But Sarah is like, you're all living off me, you feed off of me. And Tracy's like, living off of you, the person who hasn't been able to make rent for 2 months. Sarah ends up grabbing her, what I have to assume is a signing bonus from Estrellas, and quite literally throwing it in Tracy's face. She says it's our apartment now. And then she storms back off to her room. The woman from the audition shows up, like, over her. It's very strange. She sort of, like, teleports in. She shoves a blanket in her mouth, and she, like, tells her not to fight what's happening to her, right? She's then writhing in pain. She can hear all her friends' voices playing throughout her head. Again, it's very, like, it's difficult. She starts laying there so still after that, which I believe this shot is where they get most of the promotional pictures they ended up using. That were, like, screen grab wise. Because she gets so still, I thought she had died. And I was like, man, like, how is the main character dead when we still have, like, 30 minutes of this movie left? She's not dead. She gets up, she like, barely makes her way back to the bathroom. She tries to grow up again, but she doesn't have anything to actually get sick with. As she's trying to throw up, she recognizes that her nails are falling off. There's blood on her hands. She, like, sticks her hand down her pants and realizes she's, like, extremely intensely bleeding. It's, like, it's gross. Like, it's a very gross scene. She barely makes her way into the bathtub. lifts her shirt and sees something like squirming around in her abdomen. After that, she's able to throw up, but what she throws up is a pile of maggots. It's so... I really... That scene worked on me. She falls out of the bathtub. There's this, like, really well done ringing. I thought my ears were ringing at first, because they do that sometimes, you know. So the sound design on her ear ringing is really well done. It's not, like, overly done the way it is on things like Criminal Minds, and The Unheard was really bad about how loud it was, but it's still, like, it's still uncomfortable. It still feels realistic. You still think it's you. So I salute the sound design team there. They did a really great job. Then Estrellas calls her. She, like, crawls through the hallway to go answer the phone. When she answers it, she tells them she's dying, and they say, "Yeah, you are. Did you think becoming a star would be painless?" And they tell her either she can stay the girl she was, she can go into the ground and be forgotten, or she can be reborn a star. She can be what Estrellas wants her to be. She just has to fully give in to what they want her to do. And then it cuts to her wandering down the street in a hoodie. We're seeing her from behind, so we can't see how disheveled a character she has become. Sarah walks her way into the house from the beginning of the movie, which we find out in this scene belongs to Abigail and Aaron. It's also where Danny's van is parked. Very crucial part of their storyline. She makes her way out to the van. She sees Aaron and Danny in there and comes to the decision that Aaron must have slept with Danny for the part. Aaron goes in to pee. We get, for some reason, just a shot of her peeing. I really don't think we needed it. We did get it, though. And then she goes to the kitchen because Danny asked for a water and a sweet treat. He's so real. Just like me, for real. We see her wander into Ashley's room at one point. So we find out that Ashley and the guy with bad breath in some regard are together, or they're sleeping together. Something of that nature. Because he sure is in her bed. But they're clothed, so I don't think they're sleeping together. I think they're just genuinely together. Because we get plenty of nudity in this movie. So I think if they were sleeping together, we would have gotten nudity from that. Sarah accuses Aaron sleeping with Danny for the part. Aaron fires back that they know about what happened in the interview, and they know about that stack of cash from Estrellas, so they know she did sleep with a man for a part in the movie. And it's sad she sees life that way. She turns on the light, even though Sarah tells her not to. And she finally sees how, like, heavily disheveled Sarah is. Sarah, she tries to grab Sarah because Sarah's, like, trying to force her away when she sees what she looks like. She's like, "Sarah, like, you need help. We need to get you to a hospital. Like, something's wrong." And Sarah grabs a knife and slams it into Aaron's cheek. Slices her just all the way open. It's very, very violent. She wanders out. She hears Estrellas' voice, like the producer, and he's like, "Yeah, see, if you just give in to what we want, doesn't it feel good to give in? Like, stop fighting it. Just let us in." So Sarah goes back and just repeatedly stabs Erin. Erin is left gargling on the floor, but Sarah kind of leaves her for a minute. I think she thinks she's dead, but whatever it is, she goes to Ashley's room, and she puts her knife down. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Bad Breath Guy is going piss. He's left the room. He somehow missed everything happening to Erin. He just goes to go piss. And so she makes her way into Ashley's room while Ashley's essentially unguarded. Grabs I think it's like an 8-pound weight, like one of those little arm curl weights off the floor, and just bashes Ashley's face in. Like, there's not even like a little bit of visible what's Ashley left. She pulverizes that poor girl's face. She's destroyed. She kills her at an hour 21 minutes in, and then Bad Breath Guy is behind her. She grabs her knife again. He trips on his way out of the room, and she repeatedly stabs him in the back. He's still, like, blood gargling, but we're gonna count his death at, also an hour 21 minutes, but this one's 5 seconds off from the 22-minute mark. But we get our first 2 kills of this movie. An hour and 21 minutes in to an hour and 35-minute movie. And both kills, separate kills, not a 2-person thing, happen within a minute. This movie does not want to ramp it up for nothing, but once it ramps it up, God does it ramp it up. So Sarah notices Erin as she's stabbing Bad Breath Guy, somehow trying to crawl away. I don't see how Erin is still strong enough to move with how much blood she's lost. Like, the whole kitchen floor is blood. But she is. Probably adrenaline. Sarah grabs a plastic bag, wraps it around Erin's head, and finishes the job. At an hour, 22 minutes, and 55 seconds in. Again, 3 separate kills, no connection at all, from the same killer in 2 minutes. Is that like a record of some sort? Like, what other movies have done that? She heads out to Danny's seats. He discovers this when he opens the door to kind of like check on Erin, because it's been a minute. And he sees Sarah. They are talking. He's like, hey, like, we're your friends. We're really worried about you. She's like, yeah, I don't have friends. He's like, no, like, we're worried about you. Sarah, like, whatever's wrong, we can help you. He comes to sit beside her, and she stabs him repeatedly in the chest. He asks why. He asks her not to. And while we don't see him fully dead, he's still breathing a little bit when the cult comes to get her. I'm gonna count his death at an hour and 26 minutes in, because we're not seeing Danny again. Sarah is taken by the cult. She is buried while wrapped in, like, plastic. She's sort of wrapped up like meat. It's very interesting. I guess it's like a fresh meat metaphor. She is buried, a whole bunch of pretty old white people, and then that guy in, like, his 30s from her her audition. I'm sorry, I work normal people jobs. I don't do auditions. But from her audition is standing around her. They all have that weird pentagram with the star going through it. Or not the star, the line going through it. They begin to hail Estrellas, and there's some really interesting, I don't know for sure choreography is the word, but her arms are moving in the most, like, fluid, beautiful way. She's very intriguing in this moment. As she pushes her way through the plastic and through the dirt. She comes out completely bald and completely naked, completely covered in mud. There is a red package beside her that says happy birthday, which she picks up. She seemingly goes home as Tracy comes home to muddy footprints in their apartment. She calls out for her, goes into her room, and she's like, got a whole bunch of candles lit. She's laying under just a sheet, completely naked, like so still you'd think she's dead. Tracy apologized for what happened. Sarah grabs her arm and slams the door, tells her to come lay with her. Tracy said she doesn't want to, but there's this weird, like, whispering that leads to Tracy getting in her bed anyway. And then Sarah tells her things are changing for her. Tracy says it's good for her. Like, she notices her eyes being this vibrant green instead of the brown they've been the whole movie. She tells her she wants to say goodbye. Tracy asks where she's going, but she forcefully kisses Tracy and seemingly bites her as blood just completely spills out of her mouth. This kills Tracy at 1 hour 32 minutes in. Sarah licks the blood off her hand before getting up and finally opening that gift. And I'm sorry, I hate to go there. I hate to be the person looking. Is she wearing a fake face and chest plate? Is that boob tape holding them like that? They sit like a Barbie doll. And it's not in a way that it looks. Maybe fake boobs look like that. I don't know. I've only seen real ones. But, like, they're, like, flat almost. Like, she's still laying on her back. But, like, they're sitting up straight while she's sitting, but they're flat against her. I don't know if it's boob tape or a chest plate or what's happening there, but I was very focused on it. Not purposely. Why did they sit like that? And maybe her boobs just sit like that, and that's very rude of me, but I'm confused. Gravity was not affecting them at all. She puts on makeup. She gets dressed in this outfit Estrellas left her. She gets her own version of the necklace. She does her hair. They gave her a wig that looks kind of like her hair, but not. She finally gets to be the movie star she always dreamed of. But she's also now the monster at the end of her own bed in her nightmares. She's become both. And that's where the movie ends. I actually really like this movie. I had a good time. Again, I gave you a lot more, like, info than you needed, but I needed time to do the makeup, and this was the easier concept. I'm gonna put Ghoul Sarah on screen here. There's lipstick on my hands. Ignore that. Ghoul Sarah here, who, like, is killing them. She looks fantastic. The special effects makeup artist did such a beautiful job with her. I don't feel well enough to redo that, and I have stuff I have to do later, so I wanted something that'd be easier to put on and take off. Forgive me. I'm sorry. But that being said, we had 5 kills? 5 kills in this movie, 3 of which were women, 2 of which were men, all of which were done by Sarah, and that was Starry Eyes from 2014. I really enjoy this movie. I think it's weird. I think it's strange, but I think it's likably weird and strange. It's on Shudder right now. If you somehow haven't seen it, I should have told you that earlier. But all that being said, thanks for hanging out with me. I think I'm just gonna make jewelry or something next week. I don't know. We're just gonna hang out. So, like, if you want to come chill and hang out, maybe subscribe or something. If you had fun listening to me babble, I do it a lot. And that being said, even if you didn't, bye, baby. You have a good one.
My feeling was a horror movie. My feeling was a